This environmental valuation method tries to quantify the value of ecosystem services by examining housing prices. If people value parks, lakes, nice views, if they dislike pollution, then presumably the value of these things will be reflected in houses that are closer to or have these characteristics. So the idea is, if the price of a house is influenced by the characteristics of the house, we can collect information on prices and house characteristics, like the number of rooms and the distance to amenities, and then use regression analysis to build a function that can predict how the value would change in the absence of the environmental service. So this method is best for estimating ecosystem services that are captured in housing prices, like the value of being close to a wilderness area or park, scenic views, and the negative effects of pollution. This method is nice because it directly observes people's behavior. Housing prices are competitive, efficient, and the information is generally available and reliable. It should be relatively easy to collect the information, although more skill would be needed to do the analysis. We'll have to take some care. The relationship between environmental quality and the value of property may not be linear. Also, the method only captures the willingness to pay for perceived differences in housing attributes. So, for example, if people are unaware that air pollution is bad for them, or that property is at risk of air pollution, the environmental service may not be captured in home prices. A group of researchers from the Research School of Pacific and Asian Studies and the Australian National University investigated this for air pollution. They found policymakers would often make excuses for why they weren't addressing air pollution in developing countries, sometimes suggesting that people just didn't care. So the researchers wanted to help quantify it. They chose the province of Jakarta in Indonesia because data was available and air pollution had become a problem there. They used the Indonesian Family Life Survey to find data on house prices, as well as information on house size, number of rooms, the materials used for walls, roofs, and floors, water source availability, employment rate in the area, and whether people had university education. The accessibility of public transport and distance to the province center were used as ways to try to measure accessibility of employment. These are factors that affect property value. They analyzed these as the explanatory variables and the price as the dependent variable. To find information on air pollution, they looked at an Asian Development Bank study that was conducted about the same time as the Family Life Survey. Air quality was measured by the concentration of 6 different pollutants. The data was only reported by subdistrict, so instead of taking the blocky boundaries as literal, they sort of averaged the reported levels between subdistricts. In the end, they found that 5 out of the 6 pollutants negatively correlated with housing prices, suggesting that people cared about air pollution even if they weren't very rich, which should come as a surprise to nobody. They could also quantify it. For example, they found that every microgram of sulfur dioxide per meter cubed had a negative impact on housing prices of $28,1997 US. This is the last of the observational or revealed preference valuation methods we're going to look at. The next few methods will be stated preferences methods, where through surveys we estimate the environmental services value.